Hey guys, this is Aisha from adaycreatives.com, and I'm here with you to share another card from my 2014 holiday card series. Okay, I'm starting this card with a piece of green pattern paper, and I'm going to be cutting it into strips that are about 3 inches by about 2 inches in size. And as you can see, I'm cutting several pieces. My goal in making this card was to create several cards at one time in one sitting. I like to do that when I know that I have to make duplicates. For me, it's easier to make them all at once as opposed to making one and then going back and starting it all over again. Okay, now here I'm cutting a piece of gold cardstock, and this is a really pretty cardstock. It has a shimmer to it, so it's not glittery, but it just has like a really pretty shimmer to it, and it really works nicely with holiday cards. And I'm cutting this one to about 3 inches or 2 inches by about 4 inches. Okay, now here I pulled out my Aleene's Tack It again and again glue. I really like using this glue. I found a lot of creative ways to play around and use the glue. Here I am adding the glue with a brush right on the very edges of it. Once you apply this glue, it's a repositionable adhesive. Once you apply it and allow it to dry, it becomes really strong, and it has like a very tacky surface. And I'm just using a paintbrush to have some control over where the glue goes. I allowed it to dry for about maybe 5 minutes or so, and you'll know it's dry because, as you can see, it becomes very clear. There are a couple of spots that haven't dried all the way, but that's fine. You could kind of see the cards once they stick together, so it's very tacky and strong adhesive when you let it air dry like that. And I'm just going over it with a super fine glitter. And in order to make the glitter stick, I'm going to use my finger and burnish it down just to make sure that it stays down and that it's not falling. It doesn't fall off the card later and just be messy all the way around. And this technique really works because of the glitter. It's really, like I said, a very fine, almost makeup grade glitter. I'm just cleaning off the excess with a clean, dry paintbrush. Look at my fingers, so sparkly. Okay, so, as we all know with glitter, once you use it, no matter how much you try to clean it up, it still sticks around, but I'm doing my best right here to try to clean up as much of it as possible. Glitter a little bit goes a really long way. Okay, now I'm working on the green pattern paper, and I pulled out an edge punch and just did a decorative banner punch along the bottoms of each of them, and then also went around it with a black ink pad to help with the dimension once I begin layering all of the pieces. Adding adhesive to the green pattern paper, and again doing them all at one time so that way it makes my process easier in creating multiple cards. Now, earlier I gave you estimated dimensions on the sizes. As you can see, I cut the gold piece a little bit too long, or the green piece too short, depending on how you look at it. And so I decided just to stick the green piece down closer to the bottom, and then once I finish sticking them all down, I'll go back and just cut off the excess. so no worries. I just made an adjustment to the card. Because I'm not really a big measurer, I kind of just do it based on what feels good and what I like at the time while I'm doing it. Sometimes I go into it with a plan, an idea of what I want to create, but as far as like strict measurements, I don't bother with that too much. Okay, so now I'm just using a stamp positioner, a homemade stamp positioner that I created using a Legos pieces, and it's just going to help me position my word on this strip of vellum. And because I'm doing multiple cards, you'll see I'm going to stamp it going down the full sheet of the vellum, but I just want to make sure that the word is straight. I'm also using my mat in the background to help me with the line to make sure that the word is straight on the strip of vellum. And the ink that I used was a red pigment ink, and so now I'm going back with clear embossing powder, and I'll heat emboss that on, and it'll just give it a nice little shine to the words. And when I use my heat gun, I do let it heat up a bit before hitting it with the paper. I think that helps it from warping too much. Although paper, most of the time it's going to want to warp on you, but I think having the heat gun nice and hot before blowing it onto the paper does help prevent some of the warping. Okay, so now here I'm going to go back and just cut each of the words out, cut a strip with each of the words for each of my cards. So again, I'm using the assembly line technique so I can do many cards at one time. And when I glue it down, you'll notice I apply the adhesive to the very back of the banner piece. And the reason for doing that is because I don't want to see any of the adhesive showing through the vellum. Vellum is very, because it's translucent, slightly transparent. No, translucent is the right word. Anyway, because you can see through vellum, you can also see the adhesive. So a lot of times I will try not to have the glue showing through. And as you see, my card bases are just one of those ready packs of card bases. That one came from Recollections, and I just applied a piece of white cardstock just because I didn't think the initial piece had enough contrast from the card bases, and so I'm using my background to make sure that my banner lines up relatively in the center of the card, and I did that for each of them. Now I'm going to add an embellishment, and that was just a simple embellishment pack. And this pack had doves in it, it had flowers in it, but this is something that could be done with any embellishment pack that you may have on hand. And see, and that simply, I have a bunch of cards made, and you can see that one in the end. I just didn't have another one of this particular swirl pattern, so I used the stripe pattern, but because they're all in the same color family, it all matches. So that's my card. I hope you liked it. If you did, feel free to thumbs up and subscribe, and of course you can visit my blog over at adaycreatives.com. Bye.